Everything you think you know about the War of the Ring is wrong. The victory at the Black Gate, the courage of the Fellowship, the destruction of the One Ring. All of it would have been utterly impossible without the actions of two wizards you've never seen. This isn't just a footnote. This changes the entire story. Welcome back, Lore Masters. In our final chapter on the Istari, we move beyond the familiar shores of Gandalf the Grey and the fallen Saruman. We venture into the deepest, most tantalizing mystery of Middle-earth's Third Age, the fate of the two lost blue wizards. Their names are whispered in ancient texts, Alatar and Palando. They sailed into the East, and history, as written in the Red Book, forgot them. But what if their failure, as Tolkien once suggested, wasn't a failure at all? What if they were engaged in a secret, continent-spanning war that, against all odds, they actually won? To understand the scale of their mission, we must first grasp the true scope of Sauron's power. His dominion wasn't confined to Mordor. His influence, his armies, his very will stretched far into the uncharted East and South. Imagine for a moment the forces that besieged Minas Tirith. The Haradrim from the south, the Easterlings with their vast armies. Now, picture what would have happened if every single kingdom, every tribe, every warlord from Rhûn to Harad had answered Sauron's call simultaneously. The West would have been drowned in a tide of darkness before Frodo even left the Shire. This was the apocalyptic scenario the Blue Wizards were sent to prevent. But here's where the official story, the one we think we know, falls apart. For decades, Tolkien himself believed the Blue Wizards had failed. In his earlier writings, he speculated they had founded secret cults of magic in the East, or worse, had fallen to corruption like Saruman. Their mission to rally the free peoples of the East against Sauron was deemed a disaster. They were the Istari who vanished, becoming mere names in a list, a tragic coda to the tale of the 5 Maiar sent to guide Middle-earth. This was the accepted lore, the sad truth about the Lost Ones. Let's dive deep into that initial failure. Unlike Gandalf, who focused on elves, men, and hobbits of the West, Alatar and Palando were chosen by the Valar Orome, the hunter, for their knowledge of the distant lands. Their journey wasn't a mistake. It was a deliberate, targeted strike into the heart of Sauron's potential recruiting grounds. Think about it. Sauron wasn't just a physical threat, he was a spiritual one, a corrupter of minds. His promise of power and order was seductive to the kings and chieftains of the East. The Blue Wizards' task was arguably the hardest: to combat an idea, to foster resistance in cultures utterly alien to them, without the support of ancient allies like the elves of Lothlorien or Rivendell. They were truly on their own. And here is the twist, the revelation that rewrites their entire legacy. In his very last writings compiled in The Peoples of Middle-earth, J.R.R. Tolkien changed his mind. He didn't just tweak it, he performed a complete reversal. He now proposed that the Blue Wizards had not failed. In fact, they succeeded beyond all hope. Their mission wasn't to topple dark empires, but to disrupt, to sabotage, to inspire local rebellions. Tolkien writes, and I quote, "They must have had very great influence on the history of the Second Age and Third Age in weakening and disarraying the forces of the East, who would else have outnumbered the West." This isn't a minor detail. This is a seismic shift in the lore. Let's go even deeper. What does this weakening and disarraying actually look like on the ground? Imagine Alatar, perhaps, deep in the lands of Rhûn, stirring dissent among the enslaved peoples. convincing a powerful Easterling lord that Sauron's promises are lies that will only make him a slave. Picture Pallando in the fiery south, among the Haradrim, secretly aiding a rival faction to the one leaning toward Mordor, sparking a civil war that consumes armies meant for Gondor's gates. This is shadow warfare. This is why when the Witch King calls for the armies of the East, they come, but not all of them. Not in the overwhelming, world-ending numbers they could have. The Blue Wizards didn't raise armies to march on the Black Gate. They created enough chaos, enough delay, enough doubt in Sauron's backyard that his global mobilization was fatally flawed. His attention was always split, his reach never quite complete. Because somewhere in the east, two old men in travel-stained blue robes were lighting very, very small fires of resistance. But this leads us to our second, more haunting conflict. If they succeeded so brilliantly, why did they never return? What was the cost of their victory? Gandalf died and was sent back, enhanced, to finish his work. Saruman fell and was destroyed. Radagast faded into the woods. But the Blues? Silence. Tolkien suggests they may have founded magical cults that outlasted them. This opens a terrifying possibility, that to fight a shadow, they may have had to become shadows themselves. Their methods in a land without the guidance of the Valar could have been unorthodox. Did they, in the end, become so entangled in the politics and magic of the East that they could no longer leave? Or did they fall in battle, their final sacrifice unknown to the West they saved? And suddenly, it all makes sense. The pieces lock into place. When Samwise Gamgee sees the star of Eärendil through the clouds in Mordor and feels hope, that hope was bought, in part, by wars he never knew were being fought. When Aragorn marches on the Black Gate as a diversion, it works because Sauron cannot summon another 500,000 soldiers from a pacified East. The timeline of the War of the Ring, the very fact that there was a window of opportunity for a hobbit to walk into Mordor, was carved out by the Blue Wizards. Gandalf the White, reborn and empowered, led the final charge. But Alatar and Pallando held the line for 60 centuries. This is the climax, the mind-blowing truth. The War of the Ring was not one war, it was two. There was the war we saw, the desperate, heroic struggle in the West, chronicled by Frodo and Sam. And there was the secret war in the East, a war of whispers, rebellion, and subversion fought by the two forgotten Istari. The Fellowship's quest was the dagger aimed at Sauron's heart, but the Blue Wizard's lifelong mission was the tourniquet on his limbs. They didn't get a final, glorious battle. Their triumph was the battles that never happened, the armies that never arrived, the hope that was never fully extinguished in lands swallowed by shadow. They are the ultimate unsung heroes of Middle-earth. So, we resolve the mystery not with a clear fate, but with a profound legacy. The Blue Wizards did not fail. They fulfilled their mission in the most profound way possible, by making the victory we know from the books even conceivable. They traded their place in the songs of the West for the salvation of the West itself. They are the reason the forces of good were outnumbered, but not overwhelmed. They are the great what if that Tolkien answered with his final, brilliant retcon. They were the success story hidden in the shadows. If this deep dive into the secret architects of Middle-earth's victory has captivated you, if you want to explore more of these hidden layers of Tolkien's legendarium, then hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. Let me know in the comments, what do you think truly happened to Alatar and Pallando after Sauron fell? Did they finally come home? Or were they forever changed by their long, lonely war? Thank you for watching, and remember, sometimes the most important heroes are the ones whose names history forgets to write down.